So recently I recorded a video where I started off by saying I was in heartbreak and I didn't continue talking about heartbreak. I talked about something else. And today I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to talk about caring and not caring and something I see inside of people, which I call the inner psychopath. So I personally think that when we're out there before we're embodied, we're just a lot of vibrations and we don't feel anything close to what it feels like to be a human. Because when you're a human, obviously you have a body, we're embodied. And then on top of that, there's a story, like you have a beginning, a middle, and the end. And the story encompasses an idea of who you are. And therefore you are a thing. You also have an ego attached to your body, and therefore you start to care. And in my opinion, we come down here to have feelings, because when you're out there and you're just like literally a bunch of vibrations, you don't care about things and you don't have feelings, you just are. And in many ways, that's very blissful. But there's no such thing as story, there's no such thing as time, and there's no idea of you being a thing. You come and go and just kind of squish around like water molecules squish around. Each molecule does not care, right? That it is a separate water molecule and it has a story or anything like that. It is one and it is separate and it is one, and it doesn't, I can't even compare a water molecule to the vibrations out there. So to me, I think it is one of the most enlightened feelings ever to feel heartbreak. Because if you have heartbreak, that means you're open, and it means that you love something and that you care. And so many people try not to care. And actually in our culture, it's really interesting. Coolness, like if you're cool, you're a cool person, it usually has some sort of association with death. So there's that water brand, right, called Liquid Death. It's water in a can. Water is the most life-affirming substance on earth, but to make it cool, you have to call it death. So a lot of times coolness has some kind of association with death, breaking the rules, not caring what the rules are, which has to do with a disintegration of things. And when things disintegrate, usually that's associated with evil. Like if a house starts to disintegrate under the forces of itself, like mold or nature, like usually we don't like that. Usually we don't like that. When a body deteriorates, usually we don't like that. So even if sometimes we want structure, sometimes we don't. So sometimes when someone breaks structure, we think it's cool, but it's also associated with death, like the destruction of that kind of structure. So coolness has some kind of association with death, right? Dark makeup, like black leather jacket, this kind of thing. Coolness is not a newborn baby's mama in love with her newborn. And when the newborn is napping with daddy in another room, she's so obsessed with her newborn. She's like checking photos of her newborn on her phone. Like, this is not cool, because this person cares. This person cares and is in love. So that is very different than a dude who is emotionally unavailable, cannot make attachments, is too scared to care, has intimacy issues. All the girls go crazy over him, right? So there's an association with death. And if a girl has a crush on a guy like that, an emotionally unavailable guy, she's asking for trouble, because she's inviting the death frequency into her life. She's going to have heartbreak, right? Anyway, so when you care, you are highly associated with life. You're going to be uncool probably, but that doesn't matter, because you're experiencing more humanness than someone who doesn't care. And in order to care, you have to be open to heartbreak. And usually heartbreak is the thing that everyone avoids, which is why they don't want to care. And to me, a lot of ways to look at trauma boils down to your parents didn't see you. So no matter what your story is, your parents didn't see you. They didn't appreciate you. They didn't uphold your value. You didn't feel safe. And as a result, you felt as if they didn't care. And when they didn't care, you had your first heartbreak. So that heartbreak was probably so big that you never recovered from it. You developed an ego around that, and you decided, well, you don't care. You don't care about that very thing that actually you care a lot about. And therefore, you'll be emotionally unavailable in very, very idiosyncratic ways to you. Even people in long-term relationships are emotionally unavailable. I mean, I think you know that. And one archetype I see a lot is a masculinized woman picking a feminized man that kind of needs her, is sort of parasitical on her, and she needs to take care of him. And as a result, she's in control in an artificial way. And she uses up a lot of her life force energy to maintain control in an artificial way, when what she truly wants, I believe, is to open and to surrender and to allow him to kind of be the one who puts order on things in a really fundamental energetic way that she doesn't trust him to do right now. So she artificially in life is in control of the bills and control of whatever, you know. But this kind of like allowing yourself to be a baby again, allowing yourself to be in surrender and to trust, to allow someone to care for you. This, I think, is very hard for a lot of people. And as a result, you say, well, I don't care about that. I don't even want that. What are you talking about? You know, that's not me. I'm a empowered woman. So I don't want a man to do that for me. You know, you might have that kind of attitude. And a man might have his, you know, his counterpart emotional unavailability with his excuses. I think we came here to care. And I think caring is one of the most life affirming activities you could have as a human. And that means you have to be very, very vulnerable, and you have to surrender to whatever happens, including heartbreak. And I think that's the bravest thing you could do, because you have to face your fear of rejection. You have to face your fear of not being seen all over again. And you probably have to do some kind of work on yourself on the original trauma of your parents not seeing you. And it also means a severe kind of ego death, because most likely you created that ego to protect yourself around your parents not seeing you in the way that they didn't. So that needs to go in order for you to care. And then there's a societal thing of, well, then also you're not going to be cool. Seriously. Because coolness, I mean, I used to live in New York City, where we are the epitome of cool, right? And the epitome of New York cool is to not care. Contrast that to LA, right? Like, I think some of you know what I'm talking about. LA does not have that I don't care thing. It just doesn't. It has a different thing. But New York definitely has that I don't care thing. And it's not true. It's just not true. We really want to care, and we want people to care for us. And what's really interesting to me is one way to kind of force yourself to care is to have a child. And this child is so vulnerable, and it's literally a part of you, and you're hormonally induced to care. And a lot of people say things like, I never knew I could love this much, and, you know, stuff like that. Well, that's great, but that's almost part and parcel of biologically being a parent. Can you care with an adult? Can you make yourself vulnerable to an adult? Can you admit that you care? And I'm sure some of you, maybe at some point in the past, had some kind of heartbreak or breakup, romantic breakup, and then you said to yourself, well, I didn't care that much about that person anyway. Especially if you're in that kind of position of you're a woman and you have a feminized man that you're taking care of, who's your parasite. It's easy for you to dismiss this kind of person, right? So you set yourself up to not care, or you set yourself up to have an excuse that you don't care. Can you care? And I want to talk a little bit about the inner psychopath. When this fear of caring goes to its apex point in people, what I see is something that I call the inner psychopath. Almost everyone has one. Where when you're really, really pushed to your limit of fear, when you actually care about something so much You convince yourself you don't. And when your inner psychopath comes out, people have this like dead look on their face. It's actually quite scary. They have a dead affect. They act like they don't care about you, that they don't have feelings. They don't care if they're hurting you. And it's their way of protecting their own ego when they care the most. So you either may have been this person or have experienced the inner psychopath of another person where actually there's a lot of care and this person's fucking it up. They're being rude, they're being verbally abusive, they're being unavailable, they're saying things that they don't mean. And in the moment, they believe it. So have you ever done this? Or have you experienced someone else doing this to you? So that was their inability to admit that they care. So their old ego formed from their original trauma of their parents not seeing them. It just came full force, and you might have seen it on their face, like that dead affect on their face. And they probably believed what they said in the moment, but it was because they actually really, really cared. So to me, it's really brave to face your fear and not have that inner psychopath come out, to not give that negative energy, because that inner psychopath can really ruin relationships, right? It's the dude with the biker jacket who's emotionally unavailable to girls to the nth degree is psychopathic. It's really brave to live life with other humans without that mask. And I challenge you, I ask you to see if this can be something that you seek for yourself, is to actually care. And notice if you pretend that you don't, and understand that there is an association with death, an association with coolness as a result. And that is not you. Okay. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Yes, I give one-on-one sessions. Bye.